So I wish to congratulate all the learners who passed their November 2021 National Certificate Vocational Levels 2 to 4 exams, which are administered by my Department of Higher Education and Training. I also wish to take this opportunity to urge all those who have not made it, not to despair, but to explore the range of opportunities for training, learnerships and internships in the skills development section of our post-school education and training sector, over and above, of course, the second chance matric opportunities that are there. Our skills development system will be offering, for instance, about 100,000 opportunities through our SETAs, Sector Education and Training Authorities, including but not limited to learnerships, which provide both theory and practical workplace training, where learners are paid a learnership allowance regulated in terms of the National Minimum Wage Act, including apprenticeship for artisanal trades. Additional opportunities in this case will also be announced in the next few weeks as we finalize our work in this regard in terms of opportunities for skills development. Ladies and gentlemen, the last 2 years have been extremely tough for the post-school education and training sector. However, I'm proud that our system has remained resilient despite the numerous challenges of funding constraints, COVID-19 restrictions, and the new forms of teaching and learning we've had to adopt. For our university sector, the number of students who deregistered remains low, both at undergraduate and postgraduate level. For undergraduate students, the percentage of dropout was 2%, and for postgraduate, it's at 3%. As a sector, we've ensured that we support our students who needed electronic devices such as laptops. The average, by the way, across the system, the university system, is that 73% of students who require laptops have been supported to obtain one, with NSFAS students at an average of 87%. I want to repeat this, that the average across the system is 73% of students who require laptops have been supported to obtain one, with NSFAS students at an average of 87%. I'm repeating this because there was a lot of disinformation about this matter, and that in fact we have done fairly well as a department in terms of provision of gadgets to support learning and teaching in our institutions. It is our hope that students will prioritize the use of their allowances to prioritize essential equipment to support their learning at university. Data provision required for online access for teaching and learning and assessments also remained high across the system. The average across the system for all university graduate students is 86%. It is for this reason that we will be engaging the Minister of Communications and Digital Technologies, Minister Ntshabeni, on dedicated spectrum for post-school education and training, so that we are able to effectively access, sustain, and use digital technologies in support of education and training. It's a very important matter, this, that now that as a country and the world is moving and going digital, it's important that we believe spectrum must be dedicated, must be reserved in a dedicated way for post-school education and training. And this is what we are going to be engaging the minister about. For the most part, students who are on campus and in residences are able to access university Wi-Fi services. Our universities, TVET colleges and community education and training colleges and skills centers have also generally reported high levels of student participation in teaching and learning, assessment and testing in 2021, as greater numbers of students were able to access campuses and skills centers. This gives us hope that in 2020 we should expect decreased numbers of students not consistently engaged in learning and teaching and training, as our post-school education and training institutions have now devised strategies to deal with the difficulties presented by COVID-19 and the lockdowns. I would like to thank the leadership of our PSET system, comprising of our universities, TVETs, community education and training colleges and skills centers, the academic and support staff, labor unions, and the students for their resilience and commitment to ensure that we successfully completed the 2021 academic year. Also like to thank our Deputy Minister for having led the consultation processes involving all our stakeholders to manage these past 2 years that have been very difficult. We have worked well together in facing the challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. And indeed, I wish you all the strength for the 2022 academic year. Ladies and gentlemen, on vaccination, COVID-19 remains a challenge as we start the 2022 academic year. The post-school education and training system has been immensely creative and adaptive in the management of our response to the pandemic through our Save Lives, Save the Academic Year, as well as innovations, as well as interventions by and through the Department of Science and Innovation. A special cabinet meeting held yesterday, 31st January, approved changes to the adjusted Alert Level 1 COVID-19 regulations. This follows meetings of the National Coronavirus Command Council, the President's Coordinating Council, which received updates on the management of COVID-19 in South Africa. The information gathered through the system used by the Department of Health has reported that South Africa has exited the fourth wave nationally. Now, this development means that 2022 is promising to be an academic year less disrupted by lockdown periods and restricted access to classes. Of course, if no new waves of variants surge again. And by the way, we mustn't also drop the ball. We must continue to maintain the health protocols, including physical distancing, including cleaning our hands, using sanitizers, and putting our masks in both mouth and nose, amongst others. To the extent that COVID-19 restrictions are eased, more and more contact learning and teaching is possible. And as levels of vaccination increase, more students will have access to on-campus services. In line with the approach of the National Coronavirus Command Council, the NCCC as we call it, and Cabinet, I would like to encourage everyone in our higher education and training community to get vaccinated. Vaccination is safe and it saves lives. So we call upon everyone, all our stakeholders, to join us in the campaign to get everyone vaccinated. As we move towards full contact learning and teaching and on-campus activities and a full return to residencies, it is necessary to ensure that staff and students have access to safe campus environments, which is greatly assisted by a high level of the population being vaccinated. Ayikho yonke lento eshiwoyo ngomgomo lo esiwenzayo ukuthi uneyinkinga wenza zonke lezi zinto. Sifuna ukusho lokuthini ukuthi also science bayasitshela ukuthi zonke lezi zinto kuthiwa abantu abangagomi ngoba abanye angazi bazokwenzekelwa yini Inganekwane nje esixoxelwayo. Iscience ngakusho lokho ngoba angimile lana njengongqongqoshe nje wezemfundo ephakeme nokuqeqeshwa, ngimla futhi njengongqongqoshe weze science nobuchwepheshe ukuthi imigomo le ikhethiwe, iyaziwa, yahlolwa. Ingakho sithi kuwo wonke umuntu masihambeni siyogoma ukuze siphephise impilo zethu. Currently, our agency, Higher Health, our implementing agency that is guiding institutions on the management of the pandemic, is consulting scientific experts in drawing up guidelines that institutions can follow in determining various matters around vaccination. Whilst we are awaiting the finalization of these guidelines in relation to vaccine mandates and in the management of the academic year, which I intend to prioritize urgently, let's all work together to defeat COVID-19, and I urge all institutions to ensure that the policies and procedures they put in place have been widely consulted upon. However, we must point out that the Deputy President is leading a process of consultations on the issue of vaccine mandates. That's our Deputy President, Mr. D.D. Mabuza, who is leading this effort. However, it is important that in navigating this situation of vaccine mandates, we must know that in terms of our own constitution, there is no right that is absolute. Those who assert their right not to vaccinate must also know that those who choose to vaccinate also have their rights to be protected against possible infection. Alikho nje ilungelo elihambela lodwa. Nasemgaqweni kunespeed esibekiwe 100. Ngeke kusho ukuthi hayi mina ngizoshayela ngo100. Kwenzela ukuthi ungabe ingozi kuwena futhi ungabe ingozi nakwabanye abantu. So it's very important that we are guided also by our constitution in the choice we make in exercising our rights. So this should be the framework within which our institutions are able to engage. In addition, the guidelines that I will release will take into account the latest national regulations and how they will impact on our post-school education and training institutions. Let me talk about university enrollments for 2022. The overall total enrollments within the public university sector have been projected to be 1,110,361 for this 2022 academic year. First-time entering enrollments are projected at 208,299 nationally, with 69,069 of these being first-time entering enrollments dedicated to scarce skills areas. That's not the totality of all first-time entrants. As I've said, first-time entrants is 208,000, but within this there is 69,069 which are first-time entering enrollments dedicated to what we call scarce skills areas. They have been projected as follows: that we will be enrolling 17,085 in engineering, that's first-time entrants, 17,584 in life and physical sciences, 985 in animal sciences, 209 in veterinary sciences, 10,418 in human health, and 22,788 in teacher education. It should be noted that a considerable portion of the spaces within scarce skills areas require a national senior certificate mathematics mark of at least 60%. We, however, do have a concern about the need for the improvement in the numbers of students acquiring this minimum requirement. As we speak now, they are less than the required numbers. That now talks to subjects like physical science and mathematics that we still do not have them in the numbers that we require coming out of our schooling system. By the way, we should also just dismiss this. I don't know sometimes, DM, whether people really decide not to listen deliberately. There is no one who goes to university having had a 30% pass mark. But people keep on repeating this thing ad nauseum. There is no such. You can't enter university at 30%. But we need to explain this because it is a challenge. Every education system has exit points. Exit points must be calculated both on the higher end and on the lower end. When you say you have passed by 30%, it means there are certain minimum capacities and understanding that you have such that you can be able to access particular forms of occupations or of training. That's why we have grades in our education system. To then say because we have got 30% grade, therefore that's the pass grade, it's just not true. If I wasn't on radio and television, I would be using an appropriate Dambuza word to describe that is not true. But I'm not going to use that. So it's false narrative that is consistently being repeated. This is done not only in South Africa, throughout the whole world, including those people who think that some countries are much better. Even in those countries, they have got different gradations and categorization of performance. That's education. So it's important that we explain this thing so that once and for all, we actually kill it. Because it's like people go, oh, in South Africa, 30% is a pass to go anywhere. It's wrong. It's not true. People must just familiarize themselves with the reality here. Now, let's come back to real issues, not those ones. To further enable access to all our institutions, we have opened what we call our Central Applications Clearinghouse, which we call CATCH, on the 24th of January 2022, following the release of the National Senior Certificate results. We have provided here the details for CATCH, but let me try, Thandi, and explain CATCH simply. CATCH is a facility which is aimed at those students who might not, for instance, have been accepted in a subject, in a particular course, in a particular institution. So you use CATCH to say, here am I, I'm available, I want to do this course. Then CATCH will direct you to other institutions that may be offering that course so that you possibly have an opportunity to do the course of your first choice. That's primarily what CATCH does. CATCH also allows students who have done well, but for one reason or the other, Thandi, if I'm not mistaken, had not applied, to be able to say, here I am, I have done well, I need to do this, and CATCH then will be able to assist you. We have got many ways of accessing CATCH. Amongst others, we do need to say this, you can send a WhatsApp message, a hello message, to 078 776 8660. The number again, 078 776 8660. .catch.ac.za. We also provide other channels, Facebook and Twitter as well. Usually the quickest way to access this is to simply say, even if you're on Facebook or whatever, hashtag CATCH, C-A-C-H, and then you are able to access. It's an important function through which we assist students to be able to access the courses they want. CACH is open and it will close on the 30th of March 2022. And its services are available from Mondays to Friday between 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Saturday between 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. I would also like to acknowledge that we are aware that the CACH website was down for a period of time last week. By the way, we also need to remind people that when they raise issues on Facebook or Twitter, we do pick those things up, even on the DM's Facebook and Twitter, and my Facebook and Twitter. We do pick things up. The fact that we don't respond directly to you, it does not mean that we haven't picked those up. Otherwise, we can't respond to the hundreds of thousands of people who reach out to us, because there are institutions that deal with these things, and we normally pass them on to the people who deal with this. So please don't be angry against me. Minister, I sent you a Facebook message. You did not respond to me. We are not a serious minister. You don't take your work seriously. That is an unfair attack and an unfair criticism, because we do act DM on those.
Sliding into our DMs.
Right, on TVET colleges, the department has embarked on a process to review curricula of programs offered in our TVET colleges in order to ensure that their relevance, currency and alignments to needs of industry and society. 22 more subjects have been revised, with the N4 Business and Services Studies subjects being implemented in the first semester of 2022 and the N5 in the second semester. The N4 Engineering Studies revised subjects will be implemented in the first trimester of 2022 and N5 in the second trimester. Our TVET colleges, our curricula are continuously updated on the revised subjects and how to access relevant curriculum documents through circulars. I will elaborate further on this during the 2022 Department Budget Vote Statement. The DM and I and the rest of our department, including our DG, we are championing the transformation and upgrading of our TVET colleges. It's not correct that we pay more attention to universities than TVET colleges. That is absolutely incorrect. The fact of the matter is that what we have in the country at the moment is what we regard as an anomalous situation. That we have got more university students than TVET college students. We should be having more TVET college students than university students. So what makes the university system to seem dominant is because of its numbers. But to then say this government doesn't care about TVET colleges is simply untrue. What we have done, we know it's not enough, but it's already a lot. We introduced NSFAS into TVET colleges. It was not there before 2009. We introduced it. We have also expanded the numbers in TVET colleges. That they have been stagnant is not because we do not care, but the budget of the country has not given us more money. We want to expand that. We have built beautiful TVET college campuses in deepest of rural areas because we do believe that we have to expand TVET college education. Now, on enrollment then, is that our planned 2022 headcount students enrollment into the ministerial approved programs is 508,000, which unfortunately is lower than the 2021-22 headcount enrollments funded by the state, precisely because of budgetary pressures, not because of anything. Rather, let's work together to say, let government do all it can to prioritize the TVET college sector. Therefore, the 2022 enrollment planning for the TVET colleges will only be funded by the state at 14.385 billion rands, with a correlating budget deficit of 165 million, or 1.15% funding deficit. When it relates to the enrollments themselves, we have implemented a standard operating procedure with 7 sub-processes in all of our 50 colleges. We continue to monitor this process through our regional and national office oversight teams. We have been utilizing both online and manual systems to process students' applications and registrations since the 17th of January to date for both new and returning students. And we want to urge our students, those who are able to access registration online, please do so. Because we are trying to eliminate stampedes and flocking into institutions physically, even worse in this day and age when we've got COVID-19. Those who can access, let's access things online, as many colleges are rightly doing, which we are encouraging them to do. Now, I want to just briefly share with you the Business Studies and NCV 2021 exam results. A total of 135,790 candidates wrote for the November 2021 NCV exams. The number of candidates that participated in the November 2021 exams has declined slightly by 1.9% compared to the number of candidates that wrote the November 2020 examinations. As was the case in 2020, more females at 71.1% participated in the November 2021 NCV examination cycles as compared to 28.9% male candidates. The 19 to 24 age group made up 66.5% compared to 58.8% in November 2020. In as far as the student percentage distribution per province in 2021, this is for your information, we are not taking any names or numbers of students to the newspapers for this. KwaZulu-Natal at the highest, here is this language, Manzini. It's Malusi language. Highest road percentage. Doesn't sound like the right English. Highest road percentage. But that's Umalusi language, which means those who have written percentage. KZN was leading 20.6%, followed by Gauteng at 19.3%, Limpopo 18.1%, Eastern Cape 12.9%, and the lowest percentage of those who wrote, it said, was recorded in Northwest at 5.1% and Northern Cape at 1%. We had a total of 898,907 subject entries enrolled for the November 2021 NCV examinations. I want to say that there is a serious point of concern to me that I had to request my Department of Higher Education and Training to provide detailed analysis of factors that might have contributed to the decline that we have noted above, and over and above, if there are any challenges imposed by COVID-19 and the legacy issues that affect TVET colleges. We know that the numbers have become less, partly because of COVID-19. But we want to see if over and above COVID-19, were there any reasons. I would also like to appeal to all our prospective students who are still seeking spaces within our TVET colleges for entry-level programs to contact their colleges of choice for available enrollment spaces for the academic year 2022. On community education and training, the calendar of our community education and training institutions is aligned to that of the basic education department because the majority of our centers operate in the schools. Inland community education and training colleges have commenced their academic program from the 12th of January, and coastal colleges commenced on the 19th of January. On fees now and other financial matters, there's been some public interest in the fee increases within the university sector. I would like to point out that fee increases are agreed upon in the sector as part of a social compact that has been in place since 2016. Since 2016, we've worked together with the sector on inflation-linked increases to ensure that fee increases remain affordable. In this regard, for the 2022 academic year, A CPI increase to a maximum of 4.23% for tuition fees and CPI plus 2 to a maximum of 6.23% on accommodation fees has been proposed. This is important, by the way, to say, because before there was no control or limitations on the increase of fees by institutions. They were doing as they wish. Now we have a system to say you can increase no more than the inflation rate. We recognize that the long-term stability and sustainability of the sector relies in a significant measure on tuition and residence fee income to universities, and we are working on a fee regulatory policy framework for them. I must indicate that last year we've made significant progress on this matter. It should also be noted that the costs of providing university education continue to increase, and it is therefore not sustainable to consider lower than inflation fee increases. Fee increases, by the way, we need to explain to the country, are necessitated by obvious factors. That every year we have to increase workers' wages and staff salaries. That's what contributes, amongst other things, to fee increases. Increase in electricity and water tariffs, rising food prices, rise in books and learning materials in their prices, and generally the rise in inflation. There are increases everywhere, so our institutions must also cater for this if they are to be sustainable. At the same time, we are concerned that student debt has grown in the university sector. The unaudited data showed that an estimated 6.1 billion was owed by students at the start of the 2021 academic year. Audited accumulated gross student debt as at 31st of December 2020 is 16.5 million rands. This amount is inclusive of students who have exited universities with debt. But it's important that we analyze this student debt in some detail. A survey conducted by the department in 2021 showed that an estimated 56.2% of students with debt, they owe less than 10,000 rand. 32.9 owe between 10,000 and 50,000 rand, and only 10.9% owe more than 50,000 rand. This survey also showed that NSFAS students owe 5.3 billion rands. These are mainly students, NSFAS students, Thandi, who were admitted prior to 2018. Because those who have been admitted after 2018, everything gets paid, so they don't owe, which is an important advance. It should be noted that government has contributed 1.7 billion rand to NSFAS as a result of the due diligence exercise that was undertaken in 2018 towards the historic debt of registered qualifying NSFAS students. Sacela Manzi. This was in the main targeting eligible students who were subject to the 122,000 family income threshold and NSFAS funding cap. So we have relieved NSFAS students who registered, we've given some relief who registered before 2018 in student debt by government paying 1.7 billion rands. And cheers to that. This work between NSFAS and institutions is currently underway. In addressing matters of student financial aid and student debt, the department is hard at work developing recommendations for a comprehensive student financial aid model for the future. This model will incorporate the existing funding available from the state and exploring alternative funding sources. While we are concerned about the long-term sustainability of the fully subsidized funding for students from poor and working class backgrounds, we are also concerned about students considered to be in the missing middle and the need for more postgraduate funding opportunities. In 2021, I appointed a ministerial task team to support the development of a new student financial aid policy, and I'm looking forward to receiving the report from the ministerial task team in the first half of 2022. I, however, must indicate that the ministerial task team has already started engaging the banking community and the financial sector, and progress has been made in this regard. I must indicate that for the current term, we are in discussions with the Banking Association of South Africa on work that needs to be done to develop a possible affordable loan scheme for students falling outside the NSFAS funding regime. We are working very hard on that, and we want to conclude that work before the end of the first half of this year. For missing middle students, there are also other funding opportunities available both at institutional level and other sources. We urge that those who are looking for financial support to contact their financial aid officers at their respective institutions. I must also say that we have also identified the support from the SETAs in terms of bursaries, and we are directing the SETAs that with their bursaries they must prioritize funding the missing middle. On NSFAS funding, which I'm sure many people have been waiting for. Students from poor and working class backgrounds had from 2nd November 2021 to the 21st January 2022 to apply for NSFAS bursaries to further their studies at public technical and vocational education and training colleges or universities. This allowed applicants who received their National Senior Certificate results the opportunity to apply. NSFAS initiated a system improvement process to improve the turnaround time and facilitate speedy provisional funding decisions for students who are using third-party sources such as Home Affairs, Department of Basic Education, SASSA, and the Revenue Services data. With this initiative, all first-time entering students that were successfully verified as SASSA beneficiaries received immediate confirmation of funding upon submitting a complete application to NSFAS. Let me explain this. All SASSA beneficiaries who receive grants, the child grant and the main, who have applied to NSFAS, they have already gotten a reply to say they do qualify for NSFAS. But we must always make this distinction. Qualifying for NSFAS on itself is not enough to get that money. You only get that money if you have also been admitted at a university or a college. It's not a grant, NSFAS, that you get given this money because you qualify, irrespective of whether you have been taken in an institution. Sometimes we get a lot of people on Facebook and Twitter saying, where is my money? Because NSFAS said I qualify. If we are sitting at home, we have not been accepted anywhere, you can't get NSFAS money because that money is meant for you to study. It's not a grant. I think it's important that we explain this so that everybody understands. Now, NSFAS has received 906,429 applications during the 2022 application period, of which 85% of these applicants have not studied at a public university or college before. In comparison to the number of applications received over the last 3 years, we have observed a sharp increase in the demand for NSFAS bursaries for this year. I am happy to report that we will be able to fund all qualifying students on the Department of Higher Education and Training bursary scheme as administered by NSFAS who have been admitted for funding programs at public TVET colleges and universities in 2022. Further details will be provided by NSFAS, including the appeals process for those who have not been successful. Let me repeat. I'm happy to report that we'll be able to fund all qualifying students on the DHET bursary scheme administered by NSFAS for students who have been admitted for funded programs at public TVET colleges and the universities in 2022. It means both new entrants as well as those who are continuing. I will soon be releasing the revised NSFAS funding eligibility and terms and conditions for 2022 within the next few days. However, of major concern to me and the department and NSFAS are students who continue to defraud the system by failing to disclose improvements in household income, or the student has obtained a new funder or knowingly submits false information. Basebaningi kakhulu abantu abathatha amashansi bethola uNSFAS noma isimo sabo sesishintshile. According to the analysis performed to a cohort of 2021 students, NSFAS has established that 38,744 continuing students in TVET colleges and universities continue to be funded, even though they have realized substantial improvement in household income over the funded period. Just to show that we are not thumb-sucking this, from this analysis, 32,654 students benefiting from NSFAS have a household income that exceeds 400,000 rands. Yet the limit for NSFAS students is family income of 350,000. Our analysis further shows that 7,081 of these students have a household income that exceeds 1 million rand, and 632 students are benefiting from NSFAS, yet they have a household income that exceeds 2 million rands per annum. These students will be defunded. However, I would like to say to NSFAS chairperson and the CEO in front of me here, it's not enough just to defund. You must take and lodge criminal charges of fraud